Hi Stampers, this is Sheila from Stampin' Wishes and welcome to my studio. I have to say I'm so excited. Here we are again for another vlog hop. And this month it's layering up for the holidays, and have I got some cards to show you. Alright, so let's just kind of jump in and get started on this. This is one of my favorite times of the month when we do the Glitter Queen blog comp, and Dawn is so generous to allow all of her customers the opportunity to follow some of her glitter queens and see some of the things that we do and the things that she's taught us through our time with her. This is a wonderful time of the year if you're thinking about becoming a demonstrator or just saving some, discounts on your purchases because you love stamping as much as I do and a lot of the other ladies I know. This is a great time. I mean, for $99, you're going to get $125 worth of merchandise to get everything started. Depending on your sales, you'll either be getting a 20 or 25% discount or your purchases if you're a hobbyist. So if you are interested, I would love to talk to you more about it. So you're welcome to contact me at stampingwishes.com and we can chat a little bit more about it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. What do you get when you take frosted foliage, perfectly plaid, beautiful Roca Rose, some silver, some glimmer paper, and some shimmery white? This is what we're going to end up getting. Love, love, love them. I hope that they show all the sparkle and glitter that you can see in real life. So what we have here, this is the Seaside Spray. This one is your beautiful Peacock, and this one is Highland Heather. And then I've used the silver glimmer paper, I've used the silver foil, and we're going to obviously be using the silver embossing, which comes out just gorgeous. And you can use either Versamark or you can use the Delicata. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it's the silver pigment ink, and I use that in lieu of my Versamark whenever I'm doing embossing. That way I kind of get silver on silver technique with it. Okay, so let's go ahead and move these to the side and let's get started. First of all, I do want to show you, because I did some of this ahead of time only to save time, because it would take a time out that we really don't have when we're doing a video. But I use this particular die cut, and it makes two beautiful foliage stems and leaves. And I did some in the glitter, I did some with vellum. Let me get it over here. I did some with the vellum, I did some with the silver foil, and so when we get to that point we'll decide what we want to use on it. But I like to cut stuff like this up ahead of time, and that way we have it all ready to go. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, first of all, so that it can be drying, let's bring in my Stamparatus. And we're going to stamp first our little greeting, and then we're going to, after we do our greeting, we'll go ahead and stamp up the foliage part and let that dry, because we're going to do it in our StazOn. And I did ink mine up recently, so I'm hoping that I didn't get it too juicy for doing what we're doing today. So alright, and you'll have to excuse some of the noise. I've got all of my windows open, so my barn doors that close off my studio are catching the windows from the other side of the house and the ones I have open here in the craft room. So if you happen to hear some people talking or jogging by, it's a beautiful day here. We're in the 60s and a little tiny breeze, so it's perfect for opening all the windows and letting the house air out. Okay, so we've used the stamp set from, or the greeting from Frosted Foliage, wishing you a season full of family, friends, and happiness. And so then after we do that, what I want to do is come in with my Memento, and we're going to, I've got the stamp already on a block here. So I'm going to bring this in. I'm going to bring this up here, and we're going to go ahead and stamp this block up. And then, like I said, I want to let the ink dry a little bit so that we're not smearing it when we go to use our blends. So I like to bring it in and bring it at a side. That's why I stamped kind of off to the angle. I usually have my greetings right in the center, and for this one, so that you'll have the people have room to write, or I'll have room to write whenever I mail it off, I've put the foliage kind of off to the bottom and then to the side, so there's plenty of room for my greeting in here to them and my little notes. So we're going to set that to the side now and let it dry. Okay. All right, next what we want to do is go ahead and let's get our embossing done. And I did want to tell you what I normally do, and I just forgot this panel when I was doing my other ones, is I always use my die cuts if I'm going to be using it like I did here, and I'll go into the center of the card and I'll cut out my couple of die cuts like this, because you're not going to be using this portion and it doesn't waste so much, but unfortunately I've already done it, and so this time I'll just have to let it go. But let's go ahead and do our scoring here, and this is cut at 8.5 or 5.5 by 8.5. We're going to score it at 4 1/4, and yes, this is our new cutter score, that trimmer that you're going to get to purchase starting November the 1st. So it's just a few more days. Let me tell you, it is a wonderful one. I have tried many trimmers, and this one by far exceeds my expectations. I have cut well over 100 cards on it, getting ready for my classes past Friday and throughout the month on cards that I've done for filming, and I'm still using the same blade, and it's still just as clean and sharp on the edges, and that scoring is just gorgeous. So I do encourage you to do that. So let's go ahead and get our silver layer on next, and then we'll set it aside, because after we do our embossing, I want to put my ribbon between the Roca Rose and the silver layer. So let's go ahead and put that in and get it centered. There we go. Okay, so we'll put this aside. We'll put this on top of it for a little bit later, and these are the two pieces that we're going to be embossing. And I still had some of my embossing powder. Sorry for all the wiping. I can't stand to feel things like that on my hands whenever I'm crafting. So let's go ahead and get out our Merry Christmas, and that one comes from our Perfectly Clad stamp set, another one of my real favorite stamp sets. And what we're going to do is, I'm just kind of using my grid paper to get me lined up here, and I'm going to tap this several times because I want to make sure that I've got plenty of my silver. And I better get my silver embossing over here so that we can go ahead and put that on pretty quickly afterwards. And I do like to do my two pieces separately. You probably could have plenty of time to emboss it, but because I'm doing so much of the snowflake, I'd rather do one piece at a time. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and set this off here and this, and have it all ready here. And tap that off one more time, and I'm going to bring it down a little bit so that I can see it without sticking my head into the camera, hopefully. Alright, so let's go ahead and stamp it down, hold it those 10 seconds, make sure that we get as much of that ink transferred onto our cardstock. And it's still a little bit hard to see, but it's enough in there that we can do our embossing. And I should have used my embossing buddy first, which we'll do on the bigger piece, but hopefully everything should be fine here for the small one, and that looks great. Listen to all of this. I'm going to put this on mute now, and I'm going to heat up my gun and start embossing. And I'll speed this up and see you in a minute. Okay, so here's our Merry Christmas, and wasn't that like magic if you could see that on the film as it goes from that kind of muted pewter color to that bright, beautiful silver. Okay, so what we're going to do with our card, let me move this out so you can see it. I've got the stamp set up. Again, we're going to be using the silver. And this is found in your holiday catalog if you hadn't noticed it. We used to carry these years ago, and I was so tickled to see that we got them back because we have them now in the silver, the gold. Oh, let's get that. Okay, let's get the embossing buddy out and just kind of tap some of that on so we make sure that we only have the embossing the silver where we want it to be. Okay. Let's take our silver, and I was so glad to see that they had gotten our silver and our copper and gold back with these metallic pigment ink, and hopefully they'll keep them in our catalog whenever the holiday catalog expires. So. And speaking of that, you know, we only have a few more months, so if you've not gotten those favorites of yours, I would hurry up and start getting them, because a lot of times if it once they're gone, they're gone. So if they'll quit back ordering and you just won't be able to get them. So I would encourage you, if there's a favorite of yours in there, go ahead and get it, and you're welcome to. Love to have you shop at mine, and by putting in shopwithsheila.com, you'll be able to go straight to my shop, or you can even on my blog just hit shop with me and it'll take you right over to my store. Okay, I think we've got everything that I want to put onto that, so we'll set that aside for right now and bring over the embossing powder, and I use a little filter to help filter to pour some of it back in. So what I'm going to do is set this off here and tap it back off, and I'm trying to do it without touching any of that because I don't want to mess up any of my embossing. And when I do this with the gun, I will start it off actually sitting it down, and you can see the wind starting to kind of pick up my embossing powder there, but that's all right. We'll get it off and use it. I think that looks great there. Okay, so let's go ahead and put what we can back there, close this up. I think we're done with it. So I took that off and cleaned it real quick so we wouldn't have all that there. All right, to start off with, I'm going to, so that I don't mess up any of this, I'm going to go ahead and put this on silent again and hold this down so that we Okay, what I like to do is after I've done this is I like to go ahead and pick it up with my tweezers, and then I like to go up underneath it like you saw me do on my first piece. And what that does is helps to fold kind of the paper back, you know, from the heating the other direction. But also, if I've missed any spots, this is a good way to catch those little areas that may not have had the heat on it as much as it is. I think that looks good, so we'll stop there and go ahead and start putting things together. Okay, so the ribbon I'm using for this particular card is this beautiful metallic edge ribbon, and I just absolutely love it. I buy quite a few reels of it because I do use it a lot. Alright, so we're going to put some tear and tape on the very back, and the reason I do this is I like to be able to start from the back and bring my ribbon around without adding any additional glue or tape, because a lot of people don't realize they can do this, and they put glue on that ribbon, and of course it shows through. So this is one of the reasons I do it this way. So okay, so we're going to be assembling the card now. We've got the ribbon on it, and I'm going to go ahead and come back behind here and use some of my liquid combo glue and place it on, and this gives me that. All right, I have to apologize. My camera stopped on me again while I was recording, and I was really kind of in the last stages of it, so I'm just going to have to talk you through because I put the card together. This was the card we're making with the Roca Rose, and we were at the point that I had just put the ribbon across and had layered it. Well, what you want to do next is to adhere your edging, and this is done, I don't believe I mentioned that earlier, that was done with the rectangles, and I'm using the rectangle that is the I wrote it down, it's the 1 3/4 by 3 inch. So that's the one that I use to cut out this layer. And then the piece behind it, and I'll show you the instructions that I give my classes because we just did this in class this last Friday, is this layer of the glimmer paper is 1 5/8 by 3 inches. The next layer, which is the one that we had embossed, that one is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. Then our silver foil is 4 inches by 5 1/4, and then our cardstock is the 5 1/2 inch by 8 1/2 and scored at 4 1/4. And I'll have all of those on the screen as well, but I'm kind of having to backtrack where we missed out on. Okay, so what I did was to, after I put my ribbon on and put my layer down that was embossed, I put on my glimmer paper piece and I glue that directly down. Then before I place this layer, which is put on with dimensionals, I dry lay out my piece and how I want it to look. And in this particular case, I used the vellum piece and one of my glimmer paper pieces with it. Did the same thing down here, and I used some glue dots and I glue dot them down into place on top of that paper. Now what I will do here, which I didn't do before, is I'm going to use just a tad of glue that will glue down some of these pieces of foliage, and mainly if I can get it to do it on the silver and hold down the vellum, that would be my preference because of the glue a lot of times showing through the vellum. But again, if you're just real careful, use just a little tiny dot of it, enough to adhere it, and hold it down, then it usually will adhere and it's not going to show that much of it. And in here I'm going to just use a little bit down there, and then the same thing over here. Now once I had these in the place that I wanted them with glue dots onto the glimmer paper, that's when I took and I like to use my leftovers. I'll show you kind of here on my dimensionals because I like to use the edges of them. Let me see if I have one that's got just edges. Probably not, because I have used probably all of them. Let's see here. Okay, here's a piece. What I like to do is, especially here because I want the support around it, is I take my little corners and nip them all the way around, and I put the corner pieces on these squares, and then I'll put like one little strip down the middle of it, and that supports it down. And then you put that layer on, and then like I said, you either use some of your glue dots on the edge here, or in this case I'm using liquid glue, and some of it's going to go over the vellum and help hold the vellum down, and then a little dab of the vellum I'll use a little bit of the glue on just to help hold that piece down. Okay, alright, so then after I did that, then I came in and put my jewels on, and those are from the Noble Peacock, and I used the Roca Rose color to put on it, and I thought they came out gorgeous like that. Or you could use your rhinestones, because I think equally they would have been as pretty, and that's what I did with the Seaside Spray, and I thought that one really accented well with the lighter colors like that. So either one would have worked. Then on the inside, you didn't get to see me colored, but I used both of my 2 Roca Rose, and what I did with my dark, and I used the pointed ends, not the brush ends, I came in with my dark, and everywhere you see that black, I went ahead and did a little quick mark with it. Then on some of these little smaller ones, I went ahead and colored them in solid with this, and then I came back with the lighter one and blended the dark into the rest of the berries. And then after I got done with that, because y'all know I love my Wink Stella, I came in and did my Wink Stella all through here, and then adhered that. So that's the part that you missed, unfortunately, because my film had stopped. And so these are the 4 colors that I did, and as you can see, everyone is equally as elegant and beautiful. So this would be a great Christmas card this year for you to make, and it's fast, it's easy, especially if you do it in the stages like I did. I did all my embossing, I did all my coloring at one time, and then I did all my layering and stuff. So it went very fast. So anyway, thank you for stopping by our Glitter Queen blog, and I hope that you'll click on my blog. If you're watching this from YouTube, if you'll go over there, it will have all the links to all the other ladies that are in the blog hop, and see their beautiful pieces of work as well. So next time, God bless and happy creating.